Alright, hello everybody, welcome to another episode of My Talking Head, starring My Talking Head, of course. My name is Chris from HHNlegacy.com. And if you look at my YouTube channel, I uploaded my video talking about what I thought about this year's Halloween Horror Nights HHN 22. This video is going to be strictly about Horror Unearthed, the interactive game that was played throughout the course of the event. Now, the funny thing about this game is that it was so underground that not a whole lot of people knew about this game. Not even the workers. You would walk into the, you might be in the park doing one of your tasks, and you'd ask a question about the game, and nobody would have any clue what the hell you were talking about. So it was kind of on the down low. A lot of the Horror Nights faithful were asking where all the games were on the website and stuff like that. Well, they got the games. It was a game that was played throughout the course of the event, and it wasn't something that was before the event. And I think that might also have something to do with the fact that there really wasn't, there really wasn't, how do I put this, an icon or a theme this year. But yeah, so the game was there. So what was the game? Because I know now there's some people that are asking that question. So what exactly was Horror? How did it work? Well, there were two levels to the game. There's an online version, an online part, and a in the park part. As a matter of fact, the online version is still ongoing as we speak. What had happened? I think I showed this to you before. You signed up for the game. When you signed up for the game, you had to pick a legion. So, and each legion coincided with the legions that were in the park. But they had different twisted names on them. So, for example, I'm a Cerebin. The Cerebin are the beasts. So you had Cerebin, you had Morphan, which was the traditionals. You had the warriors, which were the Bacanoids. You had the vampires, which were the Strengoid, and then you had the walkers, who were the Karazhan. And so you picked a legion, and when the game first started, it was basically strictly, for the first couple days, it was kind of just the online stuff. And each online game was a representation of each legion, and each legion had a specific vessel. So online, a vessel specific to the legion. So when you played online, you go to the inner chamber, and on a stone wall, you had the vessels, and the vessels were slowly revealed over the course of time, and each vessel was a different game. So the first game that popped up online was the one for the Strengoid, I believe, the vampires, which was a coffin game. And you clicked on their little vessel, and you played the coffin game. The Cerebin vessel was a cage, and you click on the cage and play the Cerebin game. You can play any game that you want, no matter which legion that you were in. Some games were harder than others, and other games were easy. So Cerebin was the cage. The Bacanoids were there's some debate on whether or not it was a vase or an urn. It kind of looks like an urn to me. So it was the Bacanoids was a little urn, and there was a sword. So it was an urn and a sword, and that was the match. There was a matching game there. The Morphan were this little creepy doll thing, and there was the game was like this mask thing, and you had to you clicked on the mask, and you had to I think you had to find 4. I think there were 6 masks, and 4 of them were skulls, and then if you picked the wrong one, it would be like a zombie melting face type of thing. You had the Mashurians, who were this game was became quite the plot twister towards the end of the game, but their game was it was a lever. There was a prison, and then there was like a little contraption that had 2 oil lanterns, and you had to keep the oil lanterns balanced so they didn't fall on the barrels of oil that were underneath them, and then you would explode. And then you had the Karazhan game, which was you were in a catacomb, and you had a little crossbow, and you had to shoot these shadow people that were coming at you from 3 tunnels. So that was the online part. There was also an in the park part as well. And I think I showed you my Horror on Earth card. They did let me keep it so far. You have the Horror on Earth card. Not everybody got this card, and I'll explain, go into detail of that in a minute. So Horror on Earth got on the front, and the back has, if you look at the wall, see the wall and the little crevices, that's how the inner chamber looks. But instead of the symbols for each legion, you had the vessels. And of course, all the legions were competing with each other. As of today, my Cerebins, long live the Cerebins, Cerebin rules. I was, I'm top in the Legion, so I'm #1 in the Legion, and I'm 3rd overall. I did reach the top spot for a couple days this past weekend, but I quickly fell to 3rd. But I'm still overall. I'm still #1 in the Legion, thank God. But this has actually been taking up a lot of my time as far as the Horror Nights goes. And honestly, the game really did add another level to the event for me. And I will actually really remember this year more for the game than anything else, because I met a lot of really cool people doing this. The game was designed in a way that you had to meet people, you had to talk to people, you had to communicate with people, whether it was through the Facebook page or tasks in the park or whatever. But it really was quite a fun game. As far as the in the park tasks go, there were a lot of tasks that were being done. Not everybody, like I said, got the card. And in terms of the Legion specific tasks, because they had the first task that popped up, I believe, was called Order of the Four. And what that task was is that you had to go through Silent Hill, Penn and Teller, Gothic, and Dead End, and you had a time frame that you were supposed to complete the task in. And then there was another task that was popped up called the Trial of the Triad, which you were supposed to do House of Horrors, Alice Cooper, and The Walking Dead. And every time you went through a house, when you left, you could scan your card and still get points. You can get points for visiting a house individually, but the two tasks like Order of the Four and Trial of the Triad, you got like 1,000 points, I think, for completing those tasks. And each house, the points ranged from 50 to 200 points, I believe, depending on if it was a peak night or a non-peak night, and stuff like that. As far as the Legion-specific task goes, the thinking behind it was the people who were at home that were playing and did not have it in the park, did not have a card, did not have your Horror on Earth card. On that night, when your Legion, and they didn't do all the Legion tasks on one night, they did it separately. But the idea being that at home, people would get information who were not competing in the game in the park, and they would have to communicate with the people who were in the park to figure out where you had to meet the masters, and the masters being the people that created the game, and who basically I think we've all considered them the iniquitous at this point, but they are the people that created the game, and then you would meet up with them, and in the case of the Cerebin, we were getting the information from people at home were sending us these riddles and clues that we had to find out where we had to meet the masters, and when we got there, when we found out where it was, in the case of the Cerebin, it was in the subway over in New York. In the subway itself, they had a table set up, and on the table was the Cerebin vessel, which is the cage, and then there were two members of the beasts there, and you would get your card scanned by the masters, and you would get your heritage verified for your Legion, and when that was done, everybody in the Legion would take a picture around the vessel and the members of the representation of the beasts or the Cerebin, and then that would go up on the Facebook page, and you would have to get 100 likes for the photo. And when you got the 100 likes, everyone in the Legion got a revelation badge. Each thing that you complete online, you have a little profile whether it's for the games, for the little online games. If you got to 100 wins, you get a little 100 win. And let's say I got 100 wins in the Cerebin game, you would get a little badge that said 100 Cerebin wins. You would get all sorts of badges, like when you reached 1,000 points, when you reached 500,000 points, when you reached 1,000,000 points, you would get a little virtual badge for it, and points, of course. The points were called Life Force, which may or may not come into play still as the game still continues. But that was the Legion specific task. There was another little task that we had to do called Meet the Masters, which came before the Legion specific task, where we had to meet the Masters. Each Legion had a specific time frame where they had to go and meet the Masters. In this case, it was at Finnegan's. And each one of these little tasks, they would like for the Legion specific task, and for the Meet the Master task, and for the last task, there was a little rhyme or riddle that we had to figure out to find out where they were. And for the Meet the Masters, it was Finnegan's, and you would go in and they would scan your badge. And each Legion has a tome, a little book that supposedly has these secrets for all the Legions. You know, where the Legions came from. You know, just supposedly the backstories and stuff like that. And you know, you can take a picture with the book, and depending on which Legion that you're in. So that was pretty cool. The last task on Sunday, this past Sunday, was the last in the park task for the game. Basically, they sent the entire in the park players on a wild goose chase. It was almost like a little mini demented version of the Amazing Race. And what occurred is people at home, again, were given a clue, and then they were telling people in the park about what to do. And there was some crazy riddle about which switch and man-to-man, like some crazy thing. And we had literally, this was the shortest amount of time I think that we had to complete the task, to complete a task in general in the park. And the way it was supposed to work is that there were 3 of the Masters were roaming around the park, and they were cloaked. And basically, you had to find the right Master that had the scanner. And one Master had the right scanner, while the other 2 Masters were decoys. So basically, what occurred was a mass goose chase around the park. You know, and again, the thinking behind this game is that, you know, the people had to work together. So in the case of the Cerebin, like the Cerebin group got together through the people that were in the park. You communicated through Twitter, Facebook, text messages, stuff like that. We met at a certain point, and we tried to figure out the riddle on our own. And our thinking about the riddle was, of course, gravely wrong. And then we eventually found out what the right riddle was, and what the solution to the riddle was, which was, you know, there are 3 Masters roaming around, and 2 of them are decoys, and 1 of them has the right scanner. So we had to, you know, find that. And as the game was going on, it became, you know, there was a lot of trash talking going on between Legions, and you know, all in good fun, of course. And that last task that night became a group effort, not just Legion specific, but everybody, all the Legions were trying to figure out this riddle and trying to find the Masters and get the badges and stuff like that. And you literally were running around the park. You're running, okay, you're getting information. One of the one cloaked figure is over by Mel's, and you'd start to run towards Mel's. Then you'd get another piece of information. Oh, it's a decoy. And then you'd wait for somebody else to say, you know, about where another Master was spotted, and so on and so forth. And it became like a huge mass collaboration to find the right Master, the right cloaked figure who had the scanner. A whole lot of fun. Very, 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 very fun. And that was only the first part of the task, which a lot of people didn't know. So when you found the Masters, you were given a badge. Now, of course, like you're given a badge for all the other things that you're doing playing the game. But the joke with this is that this was like I said earlier, this was a very underground type of thing. Not too many people knew about it, and they kind of knew that the hardcore Horror Nights fans would probably be the ones to play this. And one of the cooler aspects of the game is that the Facebook page wasn't an official page, but it was officially sanctioned by the guys who did the game, and there was a lot of close knit communications with the masters on the Facebook page. So TJ and Rick, Spencer, and a bunch of other. I think there were 6 in total that basically were in charge of creating this game. There was this joke towards the end of the event on the Facebook page. It's like, well, what are we going to win for all this? And the joke became, we should all get cookies or brownies on Halloween or for the last task as a prize. So the final badge that we got for that final task was a cookie. It was a little virtual cookie because they, as sort of like an in joke. But the second part of the task was everyone needed to meet at the horror makeup show theater, and basically we got cookies. We got real cookies and water and stuff because they literally had us running around the park. So we had cookies and water and stuff like that, which was cool. And basically it was a giant Q&A session with all the people that put the game together, and they explained about things about how the funding for the game came very last minute, and they weren't sure if they were going to do it. So there was stuff that they wanted to do that they weren't able to do in terms of the game, and just really, really cool. And the most awesome part about it was they really emphasized that the game was made for the fans because they first of all, they knew that we'd probably be the ones to obsess over the game. The other interesting part that we learned during the Q&A session is that they are still making badges and stuff as the game continued because they underestimated the dedication of the fans playing this game, especially online. According to them, they did not think that anybody was going to get past 100,000 points. And lo and behold, people got to 1 million, people got to 5 million, and the current leader has 11 million. So they had to create a badge for 1 million points and stuff like that. So it was really funny because there was a lot of experimenting going on with the game and stuff like that. But very, very fun game. I got to meet a lot of really cool people, Thomas and Sandy especially, from the Seraphim Legion, Andrew. Very, very cool. I got to meet a lot of really cool people, and just a whole lot of fun. We really like to see the game come back. I'm told that the Masters may in fact watch these videos, so if you're watching the videos, or this video in particular, I just want to say thank you for the game. I have told the powers that be at Universal my love for the game this year. I do appreciate what you all did. I thought it was really, really cool. Very cool. Added a whole nother dynamic to the game, or to the event. But still cool. The online game is still kind of happening. We were told during the Q&A session that even though the in-the-park tasks are done, that the online game would continue and that there were plot twists still to come. And also the lineage, if you will, of each legion was still going to be revealed. And one of the really funny things is that this prophecy came out during the night of the last task. It was called the All Hallows Eve Prophecy, with Hallows spelt H-O-W or H-O-L-L-O-W, not Hallow, but Hollow. And a lot of the prophecy talked about greed and about how each legion wants to race to the top, but we need to be cautious of greed and things for that with which we lust. So a lot of the legion members stopped playing because they were afraid of what was going to occur if people kept playing. As a matter of fact, on the last task night, there was all this talk about sacrificing, like, the Legion leaders and like which at the time on Sunday night, I was both the overall leader and the Cerebran Legion leader. So I was a little scared of what was going to occur. So that was funny. But basically, what happened was yesterday, all of the online games went away, except for one game, which was the Masurian game, which was the last game that they put out online, and it wasn't a ridiculously large amount of points. I think for each game you got the highest you can get was 4,000 some odd points. But the way that people used it to their advantage was that it was a quick 4,000 points, whereas say the Karazhan game, you can conceivably get up to 20,000 points on the game, but it took a long time because the longer you survived on that game, the bigger number of points you had. The Masurian game was a quick fix, if you will, to get a lot of points. So what they did was they took all the online games off except for the Masurian game, and if you lost the Masurian game, you lost 1% of your life force. So your ranking would go down. So in the case of me, for example, I have I think it's 9 million points and change. So if I lost the Masurian game, I would lose 1% of my 9 million points. If you won the game, you were sent an email, which is actually how all the task stuff worked as well. When you completed a task, or when you went through a house, or to get your points, you would get an email confirming that you went through the house, and you would get or a text message, unless it was a badge. Like if you received a badge for whatever you did in the park that night, it would come through email. Your normal points would generally come through text messages. But if you won one of the Masurian games, you would get a puzzle piece, and the puzzle piece right now is looking like it'll all the legions. The puzzle will explain the so-called family tree of where each legion came from. And this is probably to continue for the next couple days. So the online portion, even though a lot of people still are not playing like they used to, because they're too afraid still with the Masurian game, because if you do lose, you lose 1% of your life force points, and nobody knows that if you keep playing, if you play throughout the course of the event, or throughout the course of the next couple days, what will happen? So people are kind of afraid to keep playing. So basically what's happening now is people are playing like once a day to sort of see if they get this puzzle piece, and they put the puzzle piece on the Facebook page and whatnot, and they're trying to figure out what the lineages are for the legions, which may or may not have connections to Horror Nights icons. I think there's still some. I think the general consensus is that they do, but some people, myself included, is like, well, maybe there's some other. Because I'm pretty sure in the Q&A session they mentioned that it was the heritages for all the legions come from horror icons or legends, not necessarily Horror Nights icons. But I could be wrong about that. But so yes, very, very fun game. I'm really grateful for the people that I met this year. I met a lot of really cool people. I love that last task that we had to do where we were running around the park, and like that was a whole lot of fun. I will remember that for a long time. That was a whole lot of fun. I'm getting a little bit, as I get older, I'm 30 years old now. I started going to Horror Nights 13 years ago, so I was a little bit younger. But to add that to the event, I thought was just really cool. But that last task was ridiculously fun, running around the park, uh, running into decoys, running into you know, other people who were just as confused about what the last task, like how to figure out what the last task. Nobody knew. Like that last task was a little bit harder to figure out than most. But uh, very fun, and that's kind of how the last task did work. Is you would run into a bunch of people who were, you know, would get little bits of information, and they would filter down to the people that they ran into, and but just a whole lot of fun. That was a whole lot of fun. Kudos to you guys for that last task. I really enjoyed that. That was a whole lot of fun. But like I said earlier about really the game being really underground, meaning that it wasn't kind of out there for that last task. At one point, the Serabins thought that you might have to find the Legion that you were associated with. So we actually stopped to ask one of the workers where the beasts were in the park at that time. And she didn't know, and then she was confused as to, because she was watching all these people running around, and so she was like, "What is all this?" Like she had no clue, and she actually followed us because she was curious about what everything was. But a whole lot of fun. That last task, the second part to the last task that we did, everybody got a button, a little Horror Unearthed button. So you can see that. There's an exclusive button for the event, and I'm so glad they let me keep this. I love this thing. So, but a whole lot of fun, and it also made the event feel more personal because, like I said, the masters behind the game sort of did it for the fans. As a matter of fact, the All Hallows Eve Prophecy gave huge shout outs to Screamscape, Horror Night Nightmares, HHN Rumors. They were actually part of the riddle. So like they, you know, it really made the event feel more personal this year, I think, for a lot of people, and really did elevate the event to something else entirely. But anyway, so that's the game. I wanted to share a little bit more about the game. Serabin rules! So it was fun. The last Saturday, when the Masorian game, the weekend the Masorian game came out with the ridiculously large amount of points in a quick amount of time, Serabin was in last place. I think I mentioned on another video that my Legion sucks because nobody was playing. Nobody in the Legion was actually playing. And when that Masorian game came out, I had met Thomas and his wife Sandy, Serabins in my Legion, on the Legion specific task. And Thomas at the time, I want to say he was in third place in the Legion at the time. But when that Masorian game came out, I was going to give up because I thought it was just ridiculously unfair that the points just, because the leaderboard just completely lopsided because of that game. So I was actually maintaining a lead as the Legion leader for quite some time, and then because this game came out, it was like people who were 29th or whatever launched up to number one and took me over and stuff like that, and it was like, I'm gonna not play this game anymore. And then I said, you know what, screw it. If you can't beat them, join them. So 3 Serabins. It took basically three Serabins that day. We played for 14, or at least I did, played for 14 straight hours with it was myself, Thomas, and Andrew. We clawed and fought our way up and pulled Serabin from last place into second. And on the Facebook page too, it was really funny because we were messing around and trash talking and Legion pride and all that stuff. It was a whole lot of fun. And the next morning, when people saw because as we were playing that day, and Serabin was kind of moving up in the ranks, other legions started to play because they got nervous. And also too, I should mention that the Serabin Legion had the second least amount of people within the Legion. So for us to do what we did, on that Saturday was something quite extraordinary. Because I want to say the Serbians had 400 members in the Legion, but really only like 20 members were playing. So for us to, or playing religiously, I should say. So for us to um, come up from the bottom like that was really something quite remarkable. And the next morning, a bunch of people looked at the leaderboard like, "What the fuck happened? How did Cerebin go from second or from sixth place to second place?" It's like it is just crazy. But we did. We went from second to sixth. Cerebin, as of right now, is still in second place, and the Karazhan they also went from way down to they went to first. So because the online game is still kind of continuing, but people aren't playing that much anymore. We're just playing to try and get the puzzle pieces together. Um, first place is Karazhan, second place is the Cerebin, and third place is the Morphans. And the Morphans, I should say, have the most. They have the most members in their Legion. So, but anyway, still a whole lot of fun. I love this game. Really added a whole nother level to the event, and also made the event feel a little bit more personal, which I really enjoyed. So, and I really hope it comes back in some way, shape, or form. But go Cerebin! Cerebin rules, and all the members of the Cerebin, Thomas, Sandy, Andrew, all you guys that worked hard to try and get Cerebin out from the depths, and in the park and stuff like that. It was really a whole lot of fun. I really appreciate meeting all the people as well. And again, a special thank you and shout out to the Masters for putting this game together. It really meant something personal, especially to me, and I think to a lot of the diehard Horror Nights fans. So thank you again. I really hope. Please, can I still keep this? Nobody really knows. I mean, if they continue on with the game next year, nobody knows how it will be played out. If it will still be called Horror on Earth, if it'll be another incarnation, if it'll be the same legions, or if you have to choose your different legions or whatever. Nobody really knows. So, but anyway, thank you so much. And I just wanted to share some of my personal experiences with the game with you all. Because I did really thoroughly enjoy this. It was a whole lot of fun, damn good amount of fun, and I really hope they bring it back. So I think that's all I want to cover on the Horror Earth game. As far as badges go, we had all sorts of different badges. From, like I said, you got the task badges for the Triad, and for the Order of the Four, and the Meet the Masters, and the Heritage badge, the Revelation badges. They were I have visited, there's a badge for visiting the houses 5 times. There's a badge for visiting the houses 5 times in one night. There was a badge for visiting the houses 10 times. Oh, the first task. The first task I forgot was the 7 in 1, which meant that you did all 7 houses in one night. So there was the 7 in 1, the Order of the Four, the Trial of the Triad, and a whole bunch of other different badges. 5 times in one night, 10 times overall, 5 times, so on and so forth. So, and the cookie badge, we had a cookie badge. And the last, for the Horror on Earth part, for the when we had to meet at what the hell's it called? The Hollywood Makeup Theater. We got the button, and we also got a badge called the Contributor badge. I won't talk about, because they didn't want us videotaping a certain part of the Q&A session, so I'm not really gonna. I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about it, but they did have other things that they wanted to do this year that they just ran out of money to do and time. But the things that they did discuss was really cool and very devious in terms of the legions. So hopefully, if they do bring the game back and if they have a little bit more money to work with, they can actually do some of these things that they wanted to do. I think one of the things I can talk about was they wanted to have some of the scare actors were going to have RFID things on them, and some of the tasks would have you would have to go up to one of the scare actors or find a specific scare actor within the Legion, and scan your badge and for whatever task or just for a badge online. So, but there were other things that I won't talk about because they didn't want videotape. But there was some really cool things that they wanted to do that they didn't get a chance to do. So hopefully they'll be able to do it later. So that's it. I really wanted to talk about the game a little bit and give you guys a little bit of an insight as to what the game was and what it consisted of, and stuff like that. So that's it. I've talked for 35 minutes on this one. Wow. But it was really fun. It was a fun game. So, but anyway, if you have any questions about the game, don't hesitate to comment or send me an email, and I'll try to answer. Or if you want to know what the other things were, I can tell you in an email if you want. I'm just not going to say it publicly. So, but thank you again. One of the other cool things, quickly during the last task when we had to meet up at the horror makeup theater, they had all the vessels within it was kind of like being in a VIP, because that's where they put the VIP people sometimes, out front, special event, horror on earth and all that stuff. It made us feel like VIPs, which was awesome, because us fans, we love you guys, and I think we really felt like VIPs that night. It was really, really cool. So but thank you to the Masters again, and hopefully bring it back. But that's it for now. So catch you guys later. Bye.